a Senate committee takes up the cause for the pro-life, pain-capable Unborn Child Protection Act.
We hear all this talk about women's rights, but I beg the question, where were my rights in the womb? Where are the rights of the little girls who are going to lose their lives to abortion every single day? Where are my rights now as a woman who survived an abortion? Where are the rights of my daughters who never would have lived if that abortion would have succeeded in ending my life?
That was an emotional testimony from abortion attempt survivor Melissa Oden at this week's Senate Judiciary Committee hearing on the pain-capable bill. She was joined by 2 other pro-life witnesses and 2 pro-abortion witnesses. The hearing was chaired by South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham on the need to pass the pain-capable bill. The legislation would ban abortions after 5 months of pregnancy, which is when science shows unborn children can feel pain. Joining us now is Senator Ben Sasse of Nebraska, a member of the Senate Judiciary Committee, which held the pain-capable hearing. Senator, welcome back to the program.
Thanks, Catherine. Good to be with you.
First off, what should our viewers know about the pain-capable bill and the hearing?
So there are 2 big important pieces of legislation that we've been talking about in the Senate this year, and it was great that this week we got to spend some time on the pain-capable bill. I'm an original co-sponsor of that. I'm also the lead sponsor of the Abortion Survivors Protection Act. This week we got to talk about pain-capable. Well, what does that mean? Well, it turns out when we do fetal surgery on little babies that are still in mom's uteruses, we know that they are susceptible to feeling and suffering pain, and so we use anesthesia when babies are having surgery. And so obviously that tells us some pretty basic scientific truths that we also know to be image-based truths and moral truths about the fact that those babies in mom's tummies, they're babies and they have human dignity and they can suffer pain, and obviously our laws ought to protect those babies. And so our legislation, Lindsey Graham is the chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, and so he held this hearing this week to focus attention on the 20-week point in particular in gestation, because it's such a clear marker now where we know a lot about the pain that is suffered by those babies in utero, and those babies ought to be protected.
5 months of pregnancy or 20 weeks is when science indicates unborn babies can feel pain, yet your Democratic colleagues at the hearing painted that as junk science. Senator, how is there a disagreement about the science?
Yeah, I've got to agree with you, Catherine, that the hearing this week was just filled with tragic attacks on reason and on moral truth, but also just on basic scientific data. There's a reason why almost no countries on earth do what the U.S. does, which is allow abortion on demand up until the day and the moment in the week before a baby is born. And when you look at the company that we keep in that space, there are only 3 other countries. North Korea, China, and Vietnam are the only other countries that allow abortion on demand until the end of the 3rd trimester. And when you actually look at the map of 200 countries across the world, the motion you're seeing is toward more and more nations saying, obviously, once a baby is viable outside the womb, or once a baby is able to feel pain, that baby needs protections. And so there were Democrats saying things in this week's hearing that are just really hard to understand. The abortion industry has driven the Democratic Party to a place far, far to the left of the American people. It's tragic, but there's still good news. And the good news is this, and that is that science is on our side, and there's a whole bunch more in utero technology. There's a whole bunch more sonogram technology revealing to American voters and moms and dads and neighbors what's happening in utero, and that is that little baby sucking her thumb, she's a baby and she deserves protection.
Absolutely. 3 of your colleagues on the Senate Judiciary Committee are running for president. Senators Cory Booker, Amy Klobuchar, and Kamala Harris. What should our voters know about their stance on the pro-life issue and the pain-capable bill?
Well, it looks like there is a race to the left in the Democratic Party, and some of it is clearly driven by posturing for a Democratic presidential primary, where folks are running not just to the left of the American people, but well to the left of the Democratic electorate. And so you see these presidential candidates, the 3 that you mentioned, saying things that would be really hard to hear in the ear as fitting with Democratic rhetoric 20 years ago. Bill Clinton used to talk about the goal of making abortion safe and legal, but rare. I want us to protect all of those babies, but at least the Democratic Party of 20 years ago could acknowledge that abortion was a moral tragedy. And so Bill Clinton would talk about safe and legal, but rare. These folks are not saying in any way that they want to make it rare. There's a movement among certain extremists in the abortion industry and in the Democratic presidential primary world to shout your abortion, to celebrate your abortion. And this is a painful moment in the moral life of America.
Finally, Senator, on a different pro-life topic, you did introduce the Senate's version of the Born Alive Abortion Survivors Protection Act, which would provide medical coverage to abortion survivors. This failed in the Senate earlier this year, but last week we saw House Republican leadership file a discharge petition to force a floor vote. What did you make of that move?
Well, I'm grateful for the House pro-life leaders that are continuing to fight for this discharge petition because we need the voters of America to be able to see their elected officials on record. Where do you stand on the question of infanticide? This is not a hard problem. There are debates in American politics that are hard. There are debates that require courage. It doesn't require any courage to say that a baby that's been born and is outside of her mother and is fighting for life and gasping for breath on that delivery table, on that sadly intended abortion table, when that baby's alive, she needs basic medical care.
Senator Ben Sasse of Nebraska, who serves on the Senate Judiciary Committee, thank you for your time.
Thank you for covering this important story.
Joining us now in studio is Marilyn Musgrave, a former U.S. representative for the state of Colorado. She's now the Vice President of Government Affairs for the Susan B. Anthony List. Marilyn, welcome back to the show.
It's good to be here.
First off, can you tell us what are American attitudes towards this bill, the pain-capable bill?
Well, the American attitude is over 60% of people say there should not be abortion after the point in the pregnancy where the unborn child can feel pain. And my goodness, the things we've seen in Virginia and New York lately, you know, many times we can't get that pro-life message out there so people notice. People are noticing and they have very strong opinions that it isn't right.
They're paying attention to this.
Yes.
At this pain-capable bill hearing, and I know you were there,
yes,
the Democratic members were trying to paint the science behind this as junk science. Here is what Ranking Member Senator Dianne Feinstein had to say.
Here are the scientific facts concerning fetal pain. A human fetus does not have the capacity to experience pain until after viability.
Congresswoman, what is your response to that?
Well, first of all, I guess if you say it like that with authority, you think it's true. But I'll tell you, we have doctors now, and our research arm, Charlotte Lozier Institute, brings these doctors into committee to testify. And we had Dr. Donna Harrison there testifying on the ability of that child to feel pain. And she talked about how this group of doctors, the OBGYNs, APLOG is the acronym, you know, she says they've never polled their members on this. And 85% of OBGYNs in this country do not perform abortion. So when they hold up this scientific evidence, we now have evidence. We have these doctors speaking out on the ability of that child at that point in gestation to feel pain, not only to feel pain even more than we do as fully developed human beings.
And another major pro-life story, last week, House Republican leadership filed a discharge petition to force a vote on the Born Alive Abortion Survivors Protection Act. Can you update us? Where do things stand with that discharge petition?
Well, let me just say to people out there that don't understand the jargon sometimes, a discharge petition is a demand for a vote. And the Speaker of the House, who's Nancy Pelosi now, they determine whether or not a bill will come up for a vote. She determines it. And so these members went to the well. That's the area where you see you know, the podium and everything where the speaker is. They went there, they signed the petition to demand a vote. I was amazed. I was up in the gallery with some of my colleagues from Susan B. Anthony List, and Congressman Lloyd Schmucker was there, and he took my hand and he took me to go down and look down and see the line of members. And he said, Marilyn, it goes clear out to the plaza. So they were standing in line to sign that. God bless Steve Scalise for doing that and organizing Every Republican signed it. 199 people have signed it. We have 3 courageous Democrats that have signed it. McAdams from Utah, Colin Peterson from Minnesota, we can always count on him, and Dan Lipinski, a stand-up pro-life Democrat that's our hero. So we need 18 more. We need these Democrats that are in these districts, you know, that they need to be worrying about what their constituents are going to think if they won't even support helping an unborn child, giving it medical aid after it survives a failed abortion.
And as a former U.S. representative yourself, can you speak to how unique that tactic is of filing a discharge petition? Did you ever utilize that?
I signed probably 2 discharge petitions while I was in Congress for 3 terms. I've never seen anything like this. I've never seen a long line down there in the well to sign a discharge petition. I've never seen such unity. Actually, nothing like that had happened. 22 years ago, people signed in great numbers on a discharge petition, but this was history in the making.
Congresswoman Marilyn Musgrave, thank you for being with us.
It's great to be with you always.
Thank you.